Okay, so final video on shadows. Hopefully you're starting to get it by now. Let's go for a slightly more complex shape. So let's imagine that we have got a cylinder on a kind of flat box, I suppose. Everything in perspective. It's not perfect square, so let's go and just maybe offset. Actually, no, we'll just put a random cylinder on here. Technically, you want to put it in a little box, like so. Extend this box up. Put your top part like this. Cylinder on top. On the bottom, join those two together, like so. Let's go a little bit higher, just for the purpose of this. So there we go. Cylinder sitting on a box, a flat box. Okay, hopefully you can see what's going on there. Right, there we go. Now with our shadow, again, technically there's a horizon line up here, and these lines are going off into our vanishing points. Let's give ourselves a point shadow that's, I don't know, the base is roughly there, and the top of our light can be roughly up here. And what we want to do is we want to create a shadow for this, but this is quite complex. So first thing is to come through our box. Let's start with a very base down here. All these base lines, so this point, this point, this point over here. Ooh, that's awful. And on that side. And then for the box, we can do this face, so our top face. And we're thinking about this line going through this corner, this line going through this corner, this line going through this corner over here, okay? And that gives us where our box part is going to be shaded. Hopefully you're happy with that from previous videos. Now we've got our cylinder, and this is where it's a little bit more complicated. So what we want to do is we want to go through the base part of the cylinder, so this part through here and out, like so. And we also want to go through the top part of our cylinder. Now, what that is going to do is that's going to give us the shadow for on top of this box here. But we also want the shadow for the cylinder out here. How are we going to do that? Well, technically, you want to think about the cylinder going all the way down to the base part of this box. Okay, so imagine the bottom face. So that cylinder has been extended down, and it's probably somewhere roughly inside the box, about there. And we go through our cylinder and out, so this part, and through the widest point on that side, and out through that part. And obviously the top part stays the same, so this line, if you can see it, comes down and it meets this part of our cylinder way over here. So this line, I'm just going to extend that. For the purpose of this, I'm just going to say it finishes there. These two lines cross there, they don't, I know. And then this one is coming out, and for the bottom part of this cylinder, it's coming over to here. So we're going to cheat again, something like this. Okay, and what you would then do is you keep your axes in that direction. So my axis is in this direction, and I would add my cylinder on here like so. And then where this line is met, which is technically there, it would come back to this shadow like this. Okay, now I've obviously cheated and shortened it slightly, but hopefully you kind of see what I've done there. This top one, obviously for this face, we don't see it, it doesn't affect, does that part affect it? No, it comes down the inside of the shadow. This one comes down the inside of this main shadow as well. So we don't actually see any of those parts. So we can basically just draw this bit in shadow as well, with the lines kind of parallel to each other. Okay, so we've got shadow there. obviously this whole face is in shadow as well. So is this face. And then this base shadow, let's go a slightly different direction. Okay, and you can see how we have got our shadow there. Now, if you understand the basic concept, and the basic concept being your face, so the face is on, the point runs through the face, and the top part runs through the top face, you're fine. Obviously, where this was slightly complicated is because this extends down to where the floor is. So imagine this is the floor where the shadow is. We've extended our cylinder and our ellipse down to the floor, and therefore it's come out from that point. If we'd gone through this base part, your shadow would be floating on this top face here of this box, which we've got, but it would come out and it would look completely wrong. Okay, whereas here, technically what's happening is you can see this line comes to about here, vertically, that's come out. This line comes to about here. That's slightly off, isn't it, from when I cheated, but vertically, that should technically be going out to somewhere like that. Hopefully that makes sense, hope you understand it. That's slightly complex shadows or more complex shadows. Have a play around, obviously work out where your light needs to be, work out where your source is. Same as always though, just going back to the key concept, make sure any vertical lines are vertical in your initial area, make sure any of your vanishing point lines here are going off in that direction. This should also go and meet it because of how the perspective is. And obviously with your blue lines, keep them going off in the right direction to your vanishing point on the left. With the way I built this part on here, it's exactly the same thing. Those lines will be going off and my green lines will be going off to the right. And that's how we got our major and minor axes. Okay, have a go. Build some random shapes, put a cube on top of a cube, put a few cubes together, add a cylinder in there when you're confident, and you'll get very, very confident, or sorry, you'll get more competent with your shadows.